You're interested in making your own sourdough starter, but wonder what kind of flour is the best? The wide variety of options available in grocery stores can make choosing between different flours challenging. There are many variables that can make or break your starter. The type of flour you use is definitely the key factor. In this video, I'm going to show you a little experiment where I try to use the 3 most common flours to make a sourdough starter. All samples are started with 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water. Many people say rye flour is the best, but that is also more expensive, and sometimes it's hard to get depending on where you live. So I'll stick with the most common 3, all-purpose, bread, and whole wheat flour, all unbleached. I decided to do 4 samples. The first one is 100% all-purpose flour, and then a bread flour, one with 100% whole wheat, and the last one a 50-50 blend of whole wheat and bread flour. So why a blend? Whole wheat flour includes the whole grain of wheat, minimally processed, packed with nutrients and potential microbes, providing faster fermentation for a starter. Refined flours, like bread and all-purpose, provide a more readily available food source than wholemeal flour. Refined flours are easily converted into sugars, which are the essential food source for your new starter. A simple way to understand the 50-50 flour blend is the whole wheat flour provides the bugs and the refined flour provides the food. You don't have to do the 50-50 blend forever though. Once your starter is established and healthy, you can transition to feeding it with just one type of flour. I have a more detailed step-by-step video on how to make a starter, as well as tips and important information to understand about sourdough starter. I'll provide the link in the description below. When mixing the flour, you'll notice that white flour is definitely easier to stir, and you get a thick pancake batter consistency. Whole grain flour, however, will be much thicker. All are mixed. Let them sit at room temperature for 24 hours. This is day 2. All-purpose and bread flour had some tiny bubbles, and the rest didn't have much activity, which is perfectly normal. I'm adding 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water into it without discarding anything. The feeding ratio is 1 to 1 to 1, which means however much starter I have in a jar, I'll feed it with equal amounts of flour and water by weight. This is where it could be different for many people. Some people will start to discard and feed on day 2. Some will not feed and will not do anything on day 2, just leave it alone. Some will not feed but require giving the starter a good stir on day 2. I'm going with this method of adding food without discarding because I've tried not feeding before and the starter may take more time to have some activity. And I think discarding is not needed because there really isn't any activity yet. That's why I started with a small amount of flour and water, just 20 grams each. You really don't need a lot of flour and water to start. Having a large amount of water and flour means you will have more to discard on the following days. While there are many sourdough discard recipes available out there, before the starter is mature, there is really no point in saving the discards. That means you should wait until it's reliably rising and falling each day with signs of fermentation. Then you can start storing the discard, because that signals that your starter has a stable mix of good bacteria and yeast. All the samples still smell like flour today. From here on, I'll use a rubber band to track the starter activity. Day 3. All has vigorous bubble activity and a rapid rise. This is commonly known as the false rise, and is not yeast activity. It is a bacterial bloom, as all of the nasty bacteria in the flour burn off of your starter. They all also smell very bad, like something rotten. Bread flour starter also develop a layer of hooch. If you wonder what hooch is, I have a video explaining that. In this video, I just want to focus on how each type of flour works in making a starter. From today onwards, I'm discarding all but 20 grams of starter for each and feed them with 20 grams of flour and 20 grams of water. On day 4, besides the bread flour, the other 3 seem to have no action at all in the last 24 hours. This is perfectly normal as a result of another type of bacteria buildup. Definitely not an indication that your starter is dead. The bread flour starter has risen and fallen and again developed a layer of hooch. The very bad smell is gone and now just smells sour, not rotten. The hooch development indicates that the starter needs more food. So from here onwards, I'm going to feed the bread flour starter with a 1 to 2 to 2 ratio. I'm discarding all but 15 grams of starter, then 30 grams of flour and 30 grams of water. The other 3 are working their way steadily, so they remain the same 1 to 1 to 1 ratio. On day 5, no activity at all for all of them, which is also normal. Feeding pattern remained the same, 1 to 2 to 2 ratio for the bread flour and 1 to 1 to 1 for the rest. This feeding pattern will remain the same for the following days. Day 6. Whole wheat flour and 50-50 blend show signs of rise and fall in the last 24 hours. The other two did have some tiny bubbles activity but not rising. They all started to smell like regular yeast now. On day 7, again the whole wheat and 50-50 blend show healthy signs of rise and fall. All-purpose and bread flour have some but not much. Day 8. At this point, whole wheat and 50-50 blend have predictable rise and fall. This means they are ready. The all-purpose and bread flour will get there too, but will just take much longer. So the conclusion of this test is, when trying to make your own sourdough starter from scratch, whole wheat or a 50-50 blend will mature faster. The 50-50 shows more activities and the mixture is also not as hard to stir as the whole wheat, so it will be my first choice. 100% bread flour will be my third choice. I have a few more detailed videos explaining how to make your own starter, how to maintain it, how to switch ratio and so on. Be sure to check out those videos. Thanks so much for watching.